JKB back with another episode. Today in the show I'm reviewing the Pokémon Sword and Shield expansion pack, Isle of Armor. Thank you to Nintendo for sending over the review copy. Here's the main question: why is the DLC so short in terms of its storyline? And since this is the first half of the DLC expansion pack, should we be worried about the second half coming this fall? There's a few things they introduce in this DLC which is a step in the right direction, like adding the ability to have one of your Pokemon follow you around as you walk around the map. That's something that I think is very important to the game. Not only is it cool seeing your favorite Pokemon follow you around, you get a sense of its personality. You kind of feel bonded with it, and it's because it's always there, it's always following you around. And that's of course not true for all of the Pokemon, however. Since Slowpoke can't really keep up, he'll fade completely out of existence once you get a few feet away from him and reappear when you decide to stop and check an area out. The story is simple, and in terms of how long it takes to complete this story, get ready to be disappointed. It's going to take you between 2 to 3 hours to complete the story. That's the biggest issue with this DLC. But that's not to say I didn't have a blast playing this. The story starts you off on a new island where you'll embark on a martial arts themed journey. You'll come across over 100 new Pokemon to this game, so you have seen most of these, if not all of them, in past games. There's a collection mini game where an NPC asks you to find 150 Digletts, and they're hidden all over the island, so that's something you'll spend a lot of time doing. What's cool about this is the more that you collect and bring back to this NPC character, the more crazy Pokemon you'll get from this character. There's even starters from Pokemon Sun and Moon that you can unlock by collecting over 100 of these Digletts. Now on the island, there's a dojo which serves as your home base. Within the dojo, you can spend watts that you'll find around the island. It's sort of to upgrade your dojo. You spend these watts and it'll unlock new mechanics, and one of the cool ones for me is called the Cram-O-Matic, and it's introduced to you in a weird way where this kid wants to build something and he needs watts, so you hand over the watts and all of a sudden this machine is here and it looks like a Pokemon, and what this machine does is pretty cool. It lets you combine items together to make new ones. So it adds another strategy to the whole island. You might want to just go out there and collect things just to combine them and get new items. There's also an NPC within the dojo that lets you learn special moves, but you have to collect a certain type of ore from around the island to be able to pay for these moves and upgrade them to your Pokemon. Lastly, I just want to mention that there's a new Pokemon introduced in this game named Kubufu. He's like a little Bruce Lee teddy bear. I don't want to give too much away of what you need to do with him, but it's adorable, and watching him fight and walk around behind you is a highlight of this. It's showing you what Pokemon, the main game, should have done. It's showing you want that personality on screen with you the whole time, because you really just bond with it visually because you're watching it animated constantly. And it's fun seeing that. So it's cool to see that on this island. Now, if you've played the main game, you know that the wild areas are where Pokemon are hiding and you're able to enter these areas and hunt them down. Now, the best part of this DLC is that the whole island is a wild area. This is a choice that gives the game a new feel to a certain degree. It feels more like what I expected from the mainline game, and I think most fans are going to really enjoy this change. One thing I should point out in the DLC pack is that the ability to have your Pokemon follow you is limited to this island, which is a weird thing. I guess that they can't program it into the main gameplay, so it's only on this DLC island. So once you leave, your Pokemon is no longer following you. It's a great touch, but unfortunately, you only get to do it on the island. Visually, I think it may look a little better than the main game, but it's not going to knock your Pikachu socks off. It's still rooted in a visual style that fits the game's cartoony tone, but lacks depth. You'll notice patches of grass drawn into the frame as you get closer to them. Trees fade in and out at a certain distance. I think it could have been a lot better, but Some may argue that this is just Pokemon, it's not important. That's going to come down to a personal preference of how detailed you like your graphics. Since the story is so short, and I expect most people to be getting this DLC, I'm not going to go into real detail of discussing how it turns out. However, I'll say I had a blast playing it. You meet very likable characters, but it's just so short, I just can't get over that. You spend most of the time collecting new Pokemon, just roaming around the island, and it's fun to discover new areas and figure out cave systems and forests. It's fun. I had a good time with it. The good news is, you don't need the DLC to obtain these Pokemon. You could still get them via the trade system on the main baseline game. So in saying that, is it worth picking this up? I think the main issue here is that the pass is broken into two parts, and the second part isn't launching until this winter. It's kind of like, what did we get in the first half? It's not exactly what I expected. While they've made a bunch of amazing, great changes to the game, it just feels so short. I just can't get over that. Now, I also know a lot of you will be going around the island collecting these Digletts, and it's not going to happen in a day, but it's just simple work. It'll probably take you a couple of weeks to find them all, so it does add to the gameplay. But I mean, it's just a simple task. Overall, I definitely had a blast with the DLC. It'll be interesting to see if the second half of the expansion pack will deliver a longer story. There's a few other gameplay elements that I didn't talk about because once again, I feel that I need to save you something for the experience if you're going to pick this up yourself. Sure, the story is short, but you'll still have an amazing time walking around the island and discovering new areas. It'll take you more than a few hours to do that portion of the DLC. When I talk about the story being short, that's all that's really short in this. You'll spend a lot of time discovering new Pokemon and, battling out in max raid battles, all sorts of things. I really enjoyed my time with the game, and I hope you do as well. I'm going to give it a solid 7 out of 10. I'm looking forward to the winter DLC, which is the second half of this expansion pass. Based on this, I think they'll do a good job, and I think they have time to maybe add a little more if it's short. Was this how I would have handled DLC for Pokemon? No, not exactly. I would have split these up into their own little DLCs that you could choose on, but I do understand the choice they made here. So, do you want to pick it up? That's up to you. I think if you own the mainline game, in Canada here, it's about $34 for the expansion pack. I think it's worth it overall. I mean, we don't know the second half of this yet, so we'll have to wait and see. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of JKB.